A broken hero enters Ruculus, and every villain becomes his sentence to carry out. Spoiler warning for this Korean manhwa recap. Gangyu Seo once stood inside a hero world where killing was forbidden, even against the worst criminals. He tried to live by that rule, until his squad was erased and his brother was killed inside prison by the same evil that mercy failed to stop. Now he enters Ruculus not as a rescuer, but as an executioner. The question is no longer whether villains deserve judgment. The question is what that judgment turns Gangyu into. Gangyu's confrontation with Tomoki begins in darkness, and she wastes no time attacking the wound he still carries. She does not simply deny responsibility for his brother's death. She pushes the blame back onto him, claiming the real failure belonged to the one person who might have saved him. That kind of cruelty is exactly how Tomoki sees the world. She appoints herself judge, smiles at the accusation, and treats guilt like another weapon. Then her past opens up, showing how one first murder gave her a rush of superiority that never stopped. Villains, heroes, anyone who knew too much, they all became targets. Tomi's guilt begins in that shadow, while Gangyu fights through Tomoki's thread-like restraints and refuses to let her define the prison, his grief, or his mission. After that, the story pulls the focus back to what Ruculus means. This is not a normal prison, and Gangyu is not entering it as the same man who once tried to obey the hero code. The faces of his fallen squad and his murdered brother hang over every step, turning the facility into a place where old mercy feels almost obscene. The inmates can mock him, measure him, or try to intimidate him, but his silence already tells them the rules have changed. He is no longer trying to prove a hero can save everyone. He is there because the saved villains kept destroying lives after judgment failed. That makes his presence frightening, because he is not chasing glory or redemption. He is walking into Ruculus with one cold purpose: to become the consequence everyone else delayed. The prison crisis deepens when Gangyu is pulled into questions that sound almost reasonable on the surface. A uniformed prison figure challenges the idea of personal judgment, raising the nightmare of knowing someone caused harm but being unable to prove it. Gangyu rejects that self-appointed logic, because he has already seen how people like Tomoki turn private certainty into murder. But Ruculus does not give him time to rest inside philosophy. An alert from the lower floors points toward a threat tied to sub-level 2, or an ability can turn others into puppets. Even prison guards can become tools in someone else's hands. The facility itself starts to feel compromised, and Gangyu's role becomes harsher. If the prison cannot safely contain its monsters, he has to decide how far execution should reach. Tomoki's red thread-like power catches Gangyu in a brutal struggle, but the physical pain is only half her attack. She keeps circling his regret, pressing on Tomi, his brother, and the unresolved grief that made him enter Ruculus. Gangyu resists, denying her attempt to twist the past into another confession. Elsewhere, the prison remains unstable, with inmates and childlike prisoners reacting to the chaos moving through the floors. That wider danger makes the duel feel less like a private vendetta and more like a prison-wide infection. Tomoki wants him to break in a way she can understand, but Gangyu refuses to let her pain become authority. He keeps forcing himself through the restraints, and the red web around him becomes a test of whether his executioner resolve can survive emotional manipulation as well as violence. The fight shifts toward Meal and Male, children whose powers have already placed others in danger. They address prison guard Hong Jia as if she matters deeply to them, even asking why she did not come to them first. Gangyu gives them a terrible offer: release their abilities, and he will kill them without pain. The children search for any version of the deal where they live, insisting they have not committed a deadly crime, but Gangyu has already drawn a line through the lower floors. Prisoners on safer levels may receive choices and control devices. Killers from deeper levels do not. When they offer to unleash their abilities for freedom, he refuses again, calling negotiation with beasts impossible. His red restraints tighten, and the horror becomes clear: Gangyu is not only fighting monsters. He is deciding whether children can be monsters too. Meal and Male reveal the scale of their ability through golden angelic manifestations named Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Uriel. Their power keeps prison guards in danger, so Gangyu demands they turn it off before anything else. The children try to bargain for a meeting with Hongjia, and he agrees only after they obey. When they clasp hands and deactivate the ability, the moment should feel like relief, but it does not. Gangyu keeps his sentence intact: those from the second basement floor who have killed people will die by his hand. The girls understand that cooperation has not saved them. Then the situation breaks open as Mago arrives, carrying the ability called equality and stepping between Gangyu and the children like a teacher entering a courtroom where the verdict has already been written. Mago's golden barriers stop Gangyu's advance, and the fight changes from a direct execution into something more unsettling. Gangyu smashes through layer after layer, but the resistance leaves behind an unease he cannot ignore. The barriers are not only defense. They stir images of his fallen comrades, the people whose deaths helped turn him from hero into executioner. For a moment, the battlefield gives way to memories of children, teammates, and the bloody ruin of the life he lost. Gangyu does not fully understand what Mago is showing him, so he pulls Jia into the moment and asks whether she can read memories from abilities. The answer leads them into the past of Miel and Mael, shown as 6-year-old children behind bars, and suddenly the prisoners he planned to execute look less simple than monsters. The prison's chaos keeps spreading through the summoners, inmates who rely on summon creatures and special abilities to seize space inside Ruculus. They behave as if the facility is still their playground, a place where power and numbers can bully everything weaker. But Gangyu's arrival changes the temperature. The confidence around the summoners breaks because he does not approach them like a hero trying to control the damage. He comes as the answer to damage already done. Their summoned creatures and their masters become part of the same problem in his eyes, and he dismantles their advantage with cold efficiency. The scene reinforces the new prison order. The old system locked villains away and hoped containment would hold, but Gangyu has become the moving sentence that steps into the common area when containment fails. The past of Miel and Mael grows more disturbing when their hometown becomes the center of their idea of salvation. For 1 month, the twins summon angels and watch everyone around them, deciding who should go to heaven or hell by rules learned as children. Stealing, littering, lying, fighting with friends, ordinary moral lessons become the standards of a supernatural judgment system. The result is horrifying because it is simple. People who pass are comforted and promised beautiful dreams, while others live under surveillance from angels and demonic figures. This twisted utopia draws the Hero Association's attention, forcing officials like the president, Xiaobanju, and Kushta to debate the twins' danger. Mago is tied to them as their teacher, but he is away, so K2, also called Cut, steps forward and enters the nightmare herself. Cut's arrival does not calm the twins' world. It escalates it. Purple and red magic fill the battlefield around Miel and Mael, while summoned or angelic forms crowd the scene. Cut attacks harder and harder, but underneath the violence is resentment toward Mago. She speaks like someone who once wanted his attention, his praise, and his recognition, only to feel erased or replaced. The twins are terrified, reading the chaos through the language of angels, miracles, and monsters they barely understand. Then the timeline moves forward by a year, showing that their suffering did not end cleanly. Miel and Mael remain connected to Ruculus, and Mago tries to act when memory catches up to him. He is stopped, and Rausa, a third-tier hero, offers to go instead, turning the tragedy toward another unresolved rescue or disaster. What makes this stretch so strong is how it keeps attacking Gangyu's certainty without making the villains harmless. Tomoki is manipulative and murderous. The summoners are dangerous. Miel and Mael have harmed people through terrifying power. But the story keeps showing that Ruculus is filled with histories, teachers, failed heroes, broken children, and systems that named monsters only after damage was already done. Gangyu's executioner role still feels understandable because mercy failed him so brutally, yet every new memory makes the job harder to see as clean justice. The arc asks whether punishment can stay righteous when the person carrying it is bleeding from the same wound every prisoner keeps touching. Subscribe for the next manhwa recap, because Rouse's choice may reveal whether anyone in Ruculus can still be saved.